So tell me what it's like to testify in front of the Senate. What is that like?
Man, it was pretty wild. It all transpired so fast. I got a call from Callie Means. We've become pretty good buddies. I know you're having him and his sister Casey on the podcast. Brilliant folks that are just patient advocates. I mean, at the end of the day, they had the same experience as I had. Callie, a little bit different walk of life. He was a lobbyist. Casey was a doctor, Stanford-trained surgeon. Realized that she was in a system where they didn't really heal people. They just treated symptoms and profiteered off disease states. And she said there's got to be a better way. So their voice rung so loud after I think they did Tucker that it led to momentum. And then because of you having me on the podcast, that's how I met RFK. And so Bobby's team had reached out to me maybe about a year and a half ago to come up to Dallas while he was doing a campaign there and sit down with him. And he was just asking 100 questions about what's going on and what did you see on the pharmaceutical side and what did you see owning pharmacies and billing insurance companies. And so when they had an opportunity to put this team together to testify in front of the Senate, the goal was to create a nonpartisan group of individuals to take a new, fresh approach to what is going on with chronic disease in America. Because the chronic disease crisis is at an all-time high. I mean, we could go through all the statistics, and I know that Casey and Callie will when they're on here, so I don't want to steal their thunder, but it's staggering. I mean, close to anywhere between 1.7 to 1.9 million people are dying a year of chronic disease. We talk a lot about war. Since the dawn of this country, roughly estimated between 1.3 to 1.5 million people total have died in war, American lives. So in a year, we're losing more people to chronic disease than all the wars combined. Wow. And we're not talking about it. So to me, I was excited when they said, hey, the Senate's willing to hear, and that's the beauty of a democracy. They did let us come in there and candidly take a dump on the Senate floor on what's going on with this healthcare system and really dig into the weeds.
Did anybody try to take the side of the pharmaceutical drug industry? Did anybody question you or try to push back?
So prior, you do a debrief. So we did do a roundtable prior to going into the communal roundtable in front of the public eye, which they had no idea what was coming. The Senate didn't expect it. We had assembled a grassroots effort to get the word out there, and over 2,000 people took off from work. This is a Senate hearing. Over 2,000 hardworking Americans took time from their busy day, flew to D.C., had to sit in an overflow room to listen to these testimonies. And the level of feedback from people, from like real humans, real world people, was staggering. I mean, people afterwards came up in tears sharing their story of how the system had let them down or a loved one down, misdiagnoses, like all the different issues that they've dealt with trying to navigate this system. And to the senator's credit, you know, behind closed doors, they did say you probably don't want to go ultra hard after the food industry or ultra hard after the pharmaceutical industry because it may limit our ability to get things done. But they did.
How do they phrase that?
They just said you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. And, you know, me, Callie, and the other folks that sat on this panel, you know, our goal was to just share our stories and share what we saw. And so my testimony in particular was really more about the human side. You know, there's so many staggering datas and statistics and numbers, but behind all that is a person. Like, that's all I wanted people to understand. These are human lives. You know, when Jelly Roll testified, I think he said this equivalent to a 747 jet worth of people die of opioids a day. And that's insane. And that all started with the lapses in the FDA and the drug regulatory market. And we know that, you know, there's an argument out there. I know Callie released the number of 50+% of the FDA's funding comes from big pharma. When it comes to drugs alone, 75% of the drug funding comes from the pharmaceutical companies themselves. And so there's a big market there. And with big pharma spending over $8 billion a year advertising, that's more than the entire sum of the FDA's budget.
$8 billion a year just in advertisement. Imagine how much they're making so that they can afford $8 billion just in advertising.
Yeah, it's insane.
And those ads
But what
are
I saw
wild.
is, the truth is, my hope is that people listen and the American people fight. We can fight with our pocketbooks. We can fight through our choices as citizens. Do I have faith that the government's going to fix these problems overnight? I don't. But at least we're having the conversation. And to their credit, they let us speak freely. They didn't put a censor on us. They tried to give us some coaching, to say, hey, if you go this route, just understand there's going to be blowback. And, we're here to get progress on these topics, not, burn the house down type deal. And then I did have and it was a bipartisan effort. So some of the senators in the room had mentioned, well, the American people just want a pill. They don't really want a solution, that they're looking for an easy way out. And I pushed back. And it's funny because one of the moms that was there was like, oh my God, I can't believe you were just dropping F-bombs in that meeting. But I'm like, I think you're fucking wrong. I mean, after being in healthcare since I was 20 years old, what I see is people struggling for answers. People are in the pit of despair.
Who was saying that the American people just want a pill?
I don't want to name any names, but one of the senators there was saying, in his experience, people are looking for the easy way out, and I don't think that's the case. I think people are looking for hope.
Well, here's the thing: if there was a real easy way out, like if there really was a pill with no side effects that cured all your ails, sure, people would want that.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. The advertising, that $8 billion a year, it leads you to believe that there is some sort of a solution in the bottom of a prescription bottle.
Yep.
And that's not real. That's the problem, is that they've been misled so long and for so far down the line. And here they are, chronically ill, suffering, and they're hoping it's the next pill.
And our hope was to break down from the start of, how do we process these foods? How do we grow, harvest, and what do we do with our soil? What do we do with our pesticides? How do we bring these products to market? How do we regulate our food industry? And that's all new to me. That's not my expertise. My expertise in my testimony was focused on what I saw as a drug rep, what I saw as a med device rep, what I saw billing insurance companies. And that was a part of the talk that we didn't even get to dive deep into. But the goal was to explain to the Senate from the food processing, growing, harvesting, chemical treatments, to the packaging, to the ingredients we add into our food, to the hospital systems. Throughout the system, front to back, the American people are set up for failure.